I'm a research and technology enthusiast, basically infertility consultant as well as medical educationist with virtual learning caster uh, trained from Malaysia. And today I'm going to talk to you about my PhD journey, which Alhamdulillah I have recently cleared and successfully defended last week. On the 26th, and I'm going to talk about my research result and the lessons learned. So before I start on anything, I would like to put on a disclaimer over here that this talks only present my research findings along with my personal experiences. These are something which I have experienced throughout these past 3 years of my PhD journey. My views are my own and do not necessarily reflect those of any of the affiliated institutions where I have been studied from. And I'm not here to endorse any kind of institution or any going into any debate. This is only for educational and informational purposes for those who want to pursue their PhD or who are already enrolled in their master's program and are struggling to find a research proposal. I just want to demonstrate how the things when they all cooked up, it looked like. So, like Dr. Rashid said, I'll talk briefly about my research finding. In between, I'll tell you about my experiences and also reflect, and in the end, I will do my reflection and lessons learned. So this was my PhD research topic, measuring technology enhanced learning environments in undergraduate medical education from University Sans Malaysia, School of Medical Sciences, technology enhanced learning environment with the name of TeleMed. So this abbreviation I would be using. So the most difficult thing which comes and which we all face in the beginning is what topic to select, how to select a research topic, and what makes it click and go wonder that the supervisor is also in sync with your thinking process and he is also working with you and you are also happy with the topic. So it's, for me, this was a very rough start. And if you ask me, it took me around 2 years, 2.5 years actually, to actually come to this point that, okay, this is one thing, this is the thing that I actually want to work on. Because in the beginning, it was also vague. I had a very broad interest in online education. My master's thesis was about blended learning, and I wanted to work in detail, but there were some other interests as well. So in all these 2.5 years from the time I did my master's in 2018 till the time I got enrolled in 2020, I was continuously reading different articles, different publications which are coming up, what's working, what's not working in the domain of online education, identifying I had already identified my area of interest, but there was something lacking over there because I needed to narrow the field. So apart from online education, I also needed to find a niche, another area of interest which could I combine together and I could work on it. So my broader area, online education, in it, I wanted to help people because I find myself supporting people, mentoring people, helping people around, helping students around, developing faculty. So I thought maybe what's the way of helping these students who are now so much stuck in a digital world that they would want to carry on and they would want to feel digitally well, like just like we have mental well-being. So what would make them work? So that thing made me realize, okay, then that means from the perspective of a medical educationist, we need to evaluate and we need to have a good medium in which we could evaluate our online learning environments, and in other words, that get improved. So this is how you keep on improving. You find a broad concept and then you identify another area of interest, you combine them together, read a lot, identify the gap, you narrow the field, and then you start looking into, okay, if I have decided this thing, whether is this thing significant or not, you decide on the significance. And of course, the topic endorsement is very important because the supervisor is thinking looking at your topic, your selected proposal from another aspect. Okay, what kind of a study she is going to do? What would be the research methodology? Is it feasible? Would that be achievable on the set timeline? And finally, this all concluded me to go into this. The idea clicked that, okay, I am going to work on evaluation online learning environments. And the step is to find a gap over there. So when finding a gap over, when you are finding your proposal, I would like you to present this ikigai concept of from Japan, which works on what works best for you for a long time, because you're not only going to be stuck to your topic for only 2 years, 3 years. You are going to be with it for your lifetime, and this is going to be your identity. So the first thing everyone say is that you do the thing that you love. That's fine. My research area, fine. And then you do the thing that the world actually needs. That would be in demand. Finally, there is another third paradigm. You do the things that you are good at, and finally, the things that you get paid for. So the things you love and the things that the world needs are the needed foremost in a proposal. So you need to very clearly identify, okay, these are the things which are two of the things which are aligning together. And about the things that you are good at, I wasn't bothered about it because I knew I had a lot to learn. I had a lot of skills to learn, lot to carry on, lot to get trained on, and lot of behaviors and attitudes to develop. And finally, the things that get you paid, that get paid for, is actually your study impact. How much is your study your topic going to contribute to the practical world? What's the practicality of your topic to the world? Who is going to listen to you? Who is going to carry it forward? How are you going to carry it forward? So this was also one thing that was in my mind. So the things I love, I like online learning. I like to support people, and the things that the world needs is actually what I was continuously looking into from the literature, finding the literature gap. The things that I'm good at, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to identify the skills which I need to get trained on. Maybe there are some research methodology I don't know. I will get it, work on it by myself. And the study impact, the contribution to the world. So my developed tool can further enhance the quality of online education in various of the institution, plus any framework which I could develop can be used in online course development, which I do, and I use this framework. So this is my research ikigai, my initial ikigai. I identified my interests, at least two of the interests, and finally the third was the literature gap and why the world would need to evaluate effective online learning environment. And finally, my contribution to the world, the practical evaluation of effective online learning environment and online program development. So regarding my study, this is how then I carried out once I was very clear in my methodology, in my proposal, and my idea, I carried it forward. So the study background is basically how I looked into the gap. So with the increasing use of technology and widespread availability of the internet, there has been proliferation in the use of technology for learning in all disciplines, including health professions education. And with the passage of time, it has been documented that the number of courses utilizing technology in education have increased. And the role of technology online learning has now been integrated in various institutions, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, which served as a tipping point for these online course and online education. In addition to this, World Federation for Medical Education has declared learning environment as one of the predictors of quality medical education. And this also holds true for online learning environments. Because the online learning environments influences the student satisfaction, student behavior, leading to student achievement, and finally, the overall academic progress. So in my conceptual framework, I started off with quality assurance in effective online learning environment, which is often perceived by the student, which is the important stakeholder. And hence, this perception of the student can in turn be used to evaluate online learning environment. The recommendation and feedback from the students can be given to the universities and the schools with having these online learning environment, and then they can develop an action plan regarding this, regarding how to improve their online learning environment. So this student perception can be used to have to evaluate online learning environment. And furthermore, the literature has documented changing trends in online learning with very dynamicity in the enablers and barriers of online education, which are continuously developing. And there is a need to have an updated list which can be used for the instrument preparation. Also, the student generation has changed from the X generation to the millennials to finally the alpha generation. And with these changing generation, there are changing needs of the students, and these have different problems that they have, and they have issues of digital well-being. So all these influences the effective online learning environment and can be used to inculcate in the instrument that needs to be formed. Literature does quote previous existing instrument. However, different limitations were identified, and there were overlapping markers, but there was lack of consensus building between the marker. There was lack of context of medical education. There was lack of evidences of validity and reliability, and many of these were outdated. So my research ikigai here identified why the world needed effective online learning environment inventory. So my study objective was to develop and validate digital medical education instrument with the name of DigiMe and investigate its use in online learning environments in medical education. So what is DigiMe? It is a digital medical education environment inventory, an inventory that measures students' perception of online educational environment. So the DigiMe, the study was itself divided into 3 phases because my objectives, sub-objectives were development, validation, and usability. Briefly I identified various course points, different phases, development phase, validation phase, and the phase 3. And overall, there were 10 sub-studies which was conducted separately in the course of time during my research project. And each of the study had an outcome which led to evolution of the next product. And finally, we had the final version of DigiMe 5, which was the final version of DigiMe in our hands. The development phase utilized the scoping review, which led to a very useful telemet framework. I'll share it. The cross-sectional survey and phenomenology all identified the component and subcomponent of telemet, which were put forward and modified eDelphi route. This was a 2-round series in which the experts developed consensus on the components and subcomponent definitions, and they revised and they ranked the different components according to the importance in online education, and as well as the nomenclature was also revised. So the material from the modified eDelphi round was used to develop DigiMe version 1. The validation phase was a 4-study phase in which there was content validation, content was assessed, then the response process validation, the exploratory factor analysis, and finally the confirmatory factor analysis leading to the final DigiMe 5. This DigiMe 5 was put forward in another third phase, in which the cross-sectional survey, we took survey from students, undergraduate students to fill the DigiMe form, and also we held a phenomenology study with 5 focus group interviews to name DigiMe components and items in order to allowing the student to explain their perception about online learning environments. So this helped us validate the finding and also helped us develop a detailed list of recommendations for the institution. So this research flowchart, again explaining, utilizes around 1,250 participants. And in the result, the first study was the scoping review of 39 selected study. And it culminated in the technology-enhanced learning environment, technology-enhanced learning in medical education framework, telemed, which identified 9 different components. So 4 of the components were already outside the virtual learning platform, which are present in the physical environment as well, like in our medical schools as well. And some of the components were within the virtual learning platform. So the 4 components that are present in our physical environment is the learner, what kind of student we have, their characteristics, the content, what kind of resources that we give to the students, the learning facilitation provided by the teachers, their methods, and the institutional support in provision of different support system and content and faculty and everything. So these 4 are already present. But in online learning environment, we showed that there are additionally 5 more factors. So when you are putting up content in an online learning environment, it should have the ability to engage the student, to have cognitive enhancement in the learner. Otherwise, it won't be of any use that you put that content. So this was an important concept which emerged. Also, the teachers, how they teach, their specific set of practices identified for online teaching, teaching enhanced pedagogical practices, name was advised. Further, these teachers can also help students to interact with them and interact with each other, enhancing social representation, a very important component of online learning environment. And finally, the institution should provide technological support, the usability of having a good platform for the students as well as a teacher to work on. And in the center of this is a concept, digital capability, which I will explain later. This is central to all the online learning environment. And all these are in interplay with each other. So with the TeleMed framework, this was an important thing. The cross-sectional survey and phenomenology study, they identified the enablers and barriers of effective online learning environment. And the modified E-Delphi study ranked the component according to their importance. As you can see, digital capability was ranked the highest, followed by cognitive enhancement and cybergogical practices according to the experts. This Delphi study was also very pioneer as it revised the nomenclature of the TeleMed framework. And you can see the 3 highlighted changes: platform usability, cybergogical practices, and facilitation dynamics. So this was the revised TeleMed component. The content validation study, again, in the phase 2 showed excellent content validity, and the response process study showed good phase validity indices. The exploratory factor study identified the factor loadings of more than 0.4 in 9 identified domains, and the item number was 46. You can see there is almost equal percentage of variances going along in the 9 domains, and the Cronbach alpha is nearly 7. The confirmatory factor analysis study was further done to confirm the model which was presented in the study. And we had a series of round, and finally in the model 3, the number of items was reduced to 28 with good model indices. The GFI was more than 9, the root mean square of approximation and other were also very good, showing that this model, the final version of DigiMe with 28 item, had a good model fit. Overall, the Cronbach alpha of 28 item was 0.9, and composite reliability was nearly 7, showing that all the items were moderately consistent in representing and measuring the component they were intending to measure. So just a little diagrammatic journey of my DigiMe 1. This is the version 1, moving to version 2, and then finally version 3. The number is being reduced from 73 to now 46. In the exploratory factor study, we shifted these 46 elements in the respective domain. And finally, the confirmatory factor analysis study led to this final DigiMe model of 28 elements. So just another representation. We started off with 73 item and ended up with 28 item. And this is all the different record of items being adjusted. And the final validated digital DigiMe instrument having very good CVI, very excellent CVI, very good FVI. The factor loadings were very good. The reliability analysis was excellent, and composite reliability was also moderate. So this was put forward in the usability study. And this is the Digime is a 28 item for Likert with a Likert scale of 4, and it had been decided that any rating of less than 2 would be an area of concern. The rating of 2 to 3 would be area of improvement, and the rating of more than 3 is the positive area. So with the institution under study, the mean rating was 2.95. And this was nearly 3, so this was a good thing. However, there were few components in which the participant had rated them less. The less was 2.5, the least was the 2.5. So we wanted to explore and ask them about how that these things can be improved upon. So they were very interactive, and they discussed a lot. And in the end, we were able to develop this list of recommendation for the university for improvement in their online learning environment. All this was used by domains mentioned in the Digime instrument. So this Digime instrument, while being developed and validated, utilized 4 institutions, 3 universities, around 1,200 participants. It has 9 domains and 28 items. The validation was done in both public and private sector, involving both students of preclinical and clinical years, a very good validity and very good internal consistency. So whenever you are doing a research, you have some byproduct. So what did this study achieve other than Digime? So as I already told you, we had the revised telemet framework, and this is very important concept that is mentioned in our scoping review as well. The digital capability concept. It had been believed before that digital capability or ability is actually the ICT proficiency, how the student or anyone is communicating, how they are collaborating with each other. However, our review revealed that it is more than a simple ICT proficiency. It is digital identity, having a sense of belonging in the online learning environment with a good digital profile which can be viewed by the student. And also, apart from that, digital civility indicates how students behave, how they demonstrate digital ethics and digital professionalism, which is a very important concept. And finally, the digital well-being is all about managing oneself in online platform and not getting distracted, and how to go about that. So this is an important concept, digital capability that we introduced. Further, we also talked about 12 roles of an online facilitator. So in an online sector, the teacher is continuously shifting from one role to another. There were 12 different roles identified in the learning platform. The facilitator is also a tour guide and frontline troubleshooter for the students. And there is a lot of student support involved in the form of being a motivator, feedback provider, elaborator, demonstrator, the course content designer, curator, organizer, tool selection for online synchronous learning, and also conductor of synchronized learning, collaborator in the discussion mode, facilitator of the asynchronous learning. All these roles were defined in our study. And it also to highlight on different kind of interactions which happens and the role of institution. So the institution can have different kind of spaces in which all different kind of interactions can take between instructor, student, content, and even another learning space, another set of student, content, and another instructor. So somewhat a map for this. So future direction, the study was not without any limitation. We only validated the study in Pakistan. Pakistan is a low resource setting study. Their technology use is now emerging, now coming forward, but still it's in a low technological use. So more studies are required for validation for countries with higher income and probably countries from other technological zone like high technology or maybe medium or high resource countries. Further, with the rapid changes in the field of online education going on, there is a need of inclusion of items related to latest update like artificial AI, intelligence, simulation, and many more. So in conclusion, Digime is a 28-item valid and reliable tool, and it can be used as a benchmarking And the telemate framework itself can be used in policy and guideline making, and future direction include validation in other country and other profession, and update of updated item. So this was all this, but throughout this journey, I was keeping a tab of what I have achieved so that I could give a prize to myself and be motivated by the achievement. So these are the little achievement. We have been managed to produce 5 papers and 1 conference proceeding. 3 papers have been published and 2 are under review, and 1 conference proceeding is being published. So this is the report. I'll share in the chat later the links if anyone want to read. Also, when I was talking about what impact do you give to the world? So I have developed myself as a virtual learning caster. I am an online trainer, and apart from that, I provide training and develop online courses as well. My humble developer role started from 2021 and moved on to the subject matter specialist coordinator role, and further to the director role, where I am doing different kind of online course design. These are just a list of different places, conferences, and workshops where I have disseminated my findings. And alhamdulillah, one of my poster won the best poster award in 2021. So that is a motivation in itself. So the lessons learned. This is important because throughout the journey, it was iterative, reflective cycle which is going on, and I was continuously reflecting. And just a quick walkthrough according to the planning, preparation, and execution phases of my study. So in the planning, the first and foremost thing is to have a roadmap for your plan of action. Unless you don't have a roadmap for yourself, you won't be able to start off with it. For example, that you can start on working on your proposal and define a timeline. And whenever you have a roadmap, you need to have a very clear understandings of whys and hows. Why are you doing this topic? How would you do with this topic? If your why is, if you are able to satisfy a colleague of yours on the why, then the how gets easy. So in the initial state, you need to identify. And when you are in the process of research, master's or PhD, then you need to have very deliberate methodology and very explain a very detailed explanation of how you did it to maintain the transparency and why you did it. Why did you choose this research methodology, and why did you choose this number of sample in your study? So this should be very clear in your mind from the very start. That when you are doing literature review, you start noticing how the others have done that, and then you identify the milestones. These milestones are my own personal milestones. I want to be happy. I want to look back and reflect how I have performed, and I want to give gift to myself. I'm a very gifty person. I like to please myself, so I keep on doing it. So this was my timeline in my proposal. This is what I presented in the proposal. This is just one. It was a very long table, so I just cut it short. But it was a 2-year plan. What I'm trying to convey to you, that I made a plan for 24 months initially. And although my PhD allowed me 3 to 5 years. So, but I deliberately made it short because I knew I'm going to have setbacks. Everyone does that. So I don't want to go into that feeling of failure that I had planned like this and I'm not going to do. I kept myself very flexible. So proposal presentation, review, then phase 1 to writing, sending article for publication, everything which I could brainstorm. In the initial phase, it was here. There are some mistakes, but never mind. It was just initial. So in the preparation phase, when I entered the PhD, this was how I was feeling. That now I have entered into a battle. Not the battle with the supervisors, not the battle with anyone. It was a battle for me, myself. How far can I push myself? So this battlefield of having been in a PhD study where I didn't know what to do and I had to look into it, plus the language barrier was there, but they were very accommodating. So this battlefield was something which I think we should keep in mind, that now we are in a war, but with ourselves, with our own laziness, with our own procrastination, with our own excuses. So, number one, never ever cut down on your literature review, please. It's the basis of your study. Please start yourself with the literature review now. Prepare a folder in which you are keeping tab of all the literatures, maybe according to different kinds of studies that you are being, or maybe perhaps different kind of topics that you are looking into it. Never cut down on a study. My initial plan after my enrollment in PhD was to do a scoping review in the next 6 months. So, but however, what actually happened was I I wasn't being satisfied. I wasn't being up to it that no, something is wrong. I'm not going to it. And this telemet framework, which I showed you, this was the third framework that I showed to my supervisor. Okay, so Dr. Saiful, the first one, no, 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 I'm not also like, I was not also liking it. He didn't like it. Then I worked again, and then again and again. And that was the third framework, which we finally decided, okay, this is something that, so it took me 1.5 years out of my 3.25-year journey to work and be okay with the knowledge I had gained from the literature review. So it's never too much to have a good literature review. Secondly, use the review to have a solid foundation of your study. You should think in terms of the theoretical and the conceptual framework both, because the theoretical framework which would help you identify the different theories which are involved, and the conceptual framework which would help you identify what you are going to do in your study and your research gap and your research methodology. So you can prepare that. And the third is very important. I wish I could draw more lines to it. You need to organize. Keep a set of folder, give them number, like I usually do that, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in different phases of my study. And then in one of my thesis chapter, this is how my chapter went on, folder, subfolder, folder, subfolder. So this helped me look into it. Okay, this was the last date I visited this, and this is how, like, the first version submitted, second version submitted, third version submitted, then the chapter 2, then Dr. Saiful, number 6 is Dr. Saiful reviewed, and number 7 was my revised reviewed, and everything going on. So anyone can identify what this is? Write in the chat. Anyone can identify? Anyone? Okay, I will proceed. Okay. This
No, but you have to tell us what it is.
No problem. Yes, Dr. Mona, this is time. Actually, this is your laptop machine. So for me, in the battlefield, this was the biggest enemy in disguise for me, my own laptop, actually. My own laptop, because you need to take care of your laptop like a child when you are having a thesis. Everything is in it. You cannot afford to lose it. Never ever. I cannot afford to lose it. I have made my laptop thesis, and and my kids call it, okay, this is the third child and you take care of thesis more than us. So now I've told them, okay, now thesis is set aside. I'm going to send it to somewhere else, and I'm now okay. And I've now shifted all of my PhD organization document to my drive. So this is very important. My laptop is the biggest enemy. So please do take care, everyone. Laptops, this hurt a lot. So who is in charge? In the execution play, you actually need to keep reminding that you are in charge of your own process. Your supervisor, your peers, your PhD fellows, they won't come and ask you for your progress. You are going to manage this on your own and be in charge of all of your journey. And you're going to actually be convincing them, okay, this is how and why I did this. So in an operational plan, you need to be prepared for evaluation of any kind of threats that come to you. So for that, you need to evaluate your progress and reflect very often. So my first progress report, I presented this Gantt chart to my supervisor, and I told him, okay, this was the Gantt chart. I had marked the months, but see how I have moved and my milestones have been delayed. I had identified 5 milestones, out of which only 2 were done by that time, 6 months. And this was only 40% of the my progress which I had expected. And these red little which you see is the manuscript rejection of my scoping review. And my cross-sectional survey was further moved forward, and there were different reasons which I will explain later. So based on this, I Monday sat back. You can use any kind of framework, but SWOT analysis works for me. And what were the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats? What has been happening? So based on the SWOT analysis, I developed a set of solution, which I very strictly followed. And after 6 months, in the next semester, my progress had been this. So my scoping review had been finalized and accepted after 1.5 years of journeys. And there was a third rejection as well, which I didn't write. And these yellow documents were the one which were data has been collected and I was doing analysis. And these blue were the one which I was continuously developing the content validation study, response process validation study I was working on this. So you need to know while executing what strategy works best for you. For me, multitasking helped. For example, when I was very bored and bored of working on my Delphi study, I would just temporarily take a break and move towards the content validation study, questionnaire development, or perhaps some kind of a little task just to have little push ahead of me. And obviously in between it's very important to take yourself a mental well-being break. So this is important as well. But for me, multitasking help. You can find your own area of strength. So in execution, it's important to stay connected. Stay connected to your supervisor, to your peers, and also to your support system. It's very important. Be in connection with all these 3 different groups. Your supervisors will help you and advise you. Your peers would actually be there to support you and motivate you. And your support system is the one when you are very indulged into that black hole, they can take you out of that. So they can be your family, your friends, any close relatives that you have and depend upon. Innovate anything that you find in your PhD. It could be an innovation of an idea, presentation of new research result, innovation of any method, like we have modified E-Delphi study. Then I also had modified E focus group. Very little material was found in this when they had to develop my own guideline of developing these. So keep on innovating, and maybe something else you can come up, because PhD is all about innovating. And of course, deliberately celebrate your moment of success. Okay, today I got an email of acceptance from publication. Oh, my progress report was very liked by everyone. My supervisor approved my framework. So these were very little momentous moment in which you can celebrate, but expect setbacks. It's important to realize that PhD or any kind of research is not a linear progress. It's actually zigzag and curvy road in which you are going up and down and then moving ahead. You are becoming slower, then moving faster, and it all happens. You have to keep on pushing yourself. There were various setbacks in my journey. First of all, I had to take a break of 3 to 4 months in 2021, due to which my progress, due to my eye health, and I had to take a break from the screen actually. So, and because of that, I also had a change of workplace. So these things were going around in my environment in which I had to do it. Plus, there were manuscript rejections. Who can forget that? So this is the trail of my manuscript rejection. The first one was the 3 rejection, got accepted. The second one had 2 rejection. The third one is under review. So that's a good sign. Another one, paper published, had 1 rejection, but then later published. And one was published after review. And that's a thing for me to celebrate, because I see my green tick moving towards the left line. So it's good. And another setback was that I'm waiting for my Viva and I have an emergency health issue, and things keep on happening. Many family issues come up, and just the thing is that you need to keep on moving. And regarding this, I would have one little request from you all: be kind. The last thing is always be kind to yourself. Please forgive yourself for being late till now, for delaying your things right now. You can do this in the due course of time with the strategy made. Please be kind to yourself. And secondly, please be kind to the supervisors. They are humans in their own domains. They have their own boundaries, and they are helping us. And I totally respect and I acknowledge the efforts that have been put by my supervisors for my PhD journey. So, in the end, when you embark your PhD journey with a clear plan, stay organized and resilient through challenges, innovate and connect with your community, keep the connection on. Do not disappear, please, and celebrate every achievement. Remember, you are in charge of your journey. Believe in yourself and your vision. So in the end, I would like to have huge thank you for my supervisor, Dr. Saiful Bari Yusuf, Dr. Siti Nurma, Dr. Iman Mahazir. A huge thank you for my mentor, Dr. Gohar Wajid, and my dear friends, Dr. Saima is here, and Dr. Khadija, and all my family members and all the others who have been pushing me and believing in me. So I thank you for your time.